Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kayla and it's time to crack into a good book. So today's video is going to be about some of the November releases that I'm looking forward to. And some of these dates may be a little iffy. There's a couple that I think maybe come out in the UK in November, but come out in the US in like January, and it's a little unclear to me, so I'm just going to talk about them anyway. And there's, this is a limited subset of the books that come out in November, but these are the ones that I'm like particularly excited about. So the first one, we'll start with November 5th and work our way, through November. So the first one I'll talk about is Unnatural Metric by C.M. Wagner. One of our main characters is pretty good at magic and like much better than all the boys in her village, but the National Academy won't let her in. So I think she goes to like a different city-state where they might like allow her to actually learn magic at the university. And so she somehow gets involved in a murder mystery because 4 trolls have been murdered. And then we have our other main character who is a troll. I think she is the daughter of whatever the leader of the troll clan. And so she leaves to go to a human city because she just doesn't feel like she fits in. And then she discovers the body of a dead soldier, or a half-dead human soldier. And so she nurses him back to health, and they there's some sort of bond between them. And so then both of our main characters, I think, are trying to solve the mystery of, why are these trolls being murdered, and protect, I guess, the general country or something like that. Also on November 5th, we have Resistance Reborn, which is by Rebecca Roanhorse. So this is a prequel to the new Rise of Skywalker movie that comes out, I think, in December. So I think the Resistance is just trying to gather help and, find more leaders who can actually aid them in fighting the First Order. So that's about all I know, but it's going to be like a fun Star Wars book. I do like Rebecca Roanhorse. Also on November 5th, there's a series of Game of Thrones books coming out. So these are all like kind of behind the scenes and making of the show. So there's the costumes, the photography, and the artwork, I believe, all behind the show. So I think like the costumes and the art sound pretty exciting to me, particularly the costumes. So these are just like all the details that go into making all the costumes, and I don't know. I always like the behind the scenes sort of things for movies and shows. So I think these ones are probably going to be pretty good. I had a couple of like the Inside HBO's Game of Thrones books for like seasons 1 and 2, and then I think they did 3 and 4, but maybe didn't do the rest of the seasons for some reason. But those were really good, so I'm excited for these ones. Alright, so then we move to November 12th, and the first book I'll talk about here is Queen of the Concord by Kason Killander. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is like a Caribbean-inspired fantasy book, and our main character can control minds. So she is trying to seek revenge against the royal family, or the royals who murdered her family. So she is the only surviving daughter of a noble family. The colonizing people who took over this island just like murdered her entire family. And enslaved lots of her people. So she is like manipulating her way onto the royal island using her abilities, but she like becomes the target of some other mage, I guess. And then there's lots of murdering happening, and I think they start to suspect her, so she's like trying to not only gather allies but also find the murderer. So this sounds really awesome, and it has a super cool cover, so I'm pretty excited about that. So the next we have Realm of Ash by Tasha Suri. So this is the sequel to Empire of Sand. And I believe we follow the sister of the main character from the first book. So the first book was basically like our main character has this like magical ability to kind of control the gods, I believe. And so she like kind of, if I'm remembering right, she like, the emperor discovers her abilities and like kind of enslaves her. So she has to fight against that, and there's some romance and stuff. So this one, all of her sister, I think the empire is starting to crumble. And I guess the only way to get peace is in this realm of ash. It says, where mortals can find what they seek in the echoes of their ancestors' dreams. But it like requires a steep price, I guess. So our main character is like going to make this journey, and she's joined by an illegitimate prince. So that was kind of vague. I didn't really want to spoil what happened in the first book, but I'm very excited about this. I loved the Empire Stands, so I think this one's going to be awesome. And I believe at the end of Empire Stand there was like a little like preview, I guess, of Realm of Ash, and I do vaguely remember reading it and like really liking it. All right, so also on November 12th we have the Andromeda Evolution, which is kind of by Michael Crichton, but also Daniel H. Wilson. So this is like a sequel to the Andromeda strain, which was like an alien microbe kind of decimates this city in Arizona, or town in Arizona, I guess. And like scientists are racing to try to find the cure for this before it like kills everybody. So this one, I think, whatever this like project was from the first book is like still continuing, and then in Brazil, I think this microbe kind of comes back, I guess. So something about like a bizarre anomaly of otherworldly matter in the middle of the jungle, and it has the same signature as this alien microbe or whatever from the first book. So I think we like kind of reform this project and attempt to avert the apocalypse. So that's going to be awesome. I really liked the Andromeda strain, so I'm super excited to see what happens here. I don't know if Crichton has some sort of notes or anything for the sequel, or how this book has come into play, I guess. On November 14th, we have The Secret Chapter by Genevieve Cogman. So this is one that I'm not sure about the release date. So I thought she had said that it comes out earlier in the UK than it does in the US, and like looking at on Amazon, the paperback says November 14th, but then like the hardcover says sometime in January, I think. So it's not entirely clear to me what's happening here, but this may or may not come out in November. So this is the 6th book in the Invisible Library series, where it's basically like sort of an urban fantasy series where there's like this library that wants to go to all these like unique worlds and gather like unique books. There's dragons, there's fae, and so there's like this high magic versus high order worlds, like logic order. So the world that Irene, who's our main character, grew up in is evidently like going into chaos, and so she is trying to find like a particular book to stop that from happening. And the only copy of this book is in the hands of a fae person. So he lives on some sort of Caribbean island. He like gathers people, including our main characters, to try to steal a painting. And then like he's like, oh, if you do this, then I'll give you the books. I don't know if we already know the members of this heist, but that sounds awesome. I really like this series, so I'm very excited to read this whenever it does actually come out. On November 19th, there is Strange Planet by Ethan W. Pyle. So this is like a comic series that you may have seen around here, but basically it's aliens kind of, I don't know, enacting human things, but like describe it in weird and silly ways. That's like a really terrible way to describe it, but they're really funny comics. So I think this is just like a bind up of probably previously available comics as well as some new ones. So I'm excited for this. It's going to be silly. Finally, the last one I'm going to talk about today, it comes out on November 26th, and this is Starside by Brandon Sanderson. So this is a sequel to Skyward. So this was like a YA sci-fi series or sci-fi book, where in Skyward we are introduced to our main character Spensa and like learn that she's the daughter of a pilot who was a traitor. She learns more about what happened in the first book, and like, you know, it's about her training at the whatever academy it was to become a pilot. And so then in this one, I mean, we're obviously going to continue what happened there. There's possibly more training going on, but I think she discovered some things, and I think we'll just like follow up on them. She's trying to save humanity, so I don't know. I think this is going to be great. I really liked Skyward, and Brandon Sanderson in general is fabulous. Those are all the books I'm going to talk about today. Like I said, there are plenty of other books coming out in November, but these are just the ones that I'm extra excited about. But let me know in the comments if there are other books that you think sound interesting. I'm always on the lookout for more books, of course. You know, if you think you're going to pick up any of these books, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up, as that would certainly help me out. But with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up here and see you in the next one.